All right. Good morning. This is Bobby and
Hey, Anthony Russo. Good morning, Bobby. How are you doing?
hey, man, I'm doing good. Here with East Carolina Brides, I got our first non-manager guest. So big day.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Hey, well, look, you interact with our content. You watch it. You give me feedback. It means a lot to me because, look, I'm new to this. This is actually our 20th episode, and I feel like I've learned.
20th episode.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I mean it's
That's
a
crazy.
momentous occasion.
It is. It is. It's kind of crazy. I think it's awesome what you guys have done. I mean, we're just, sometimes we just get stuck into everyday, phone calls, demos, meeting and greeting, and we don't do anything that's outside the box. And you guys have done this. I think it's great. I really do. I look forward to it every single week. I make sure I watch it as soon as you guys post it. So yeah, I'm excited when you asked me to come. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Hey, it's my pleasure, and I think everybody in the car business, whether they're new or they're a veteran or they've been in this position or that position, they all have something to add as far as a perspective. And I was excited to have you because you've been in many roles in the car business. We won't go into your whole life story, but tell me a little bit about where did you start in the car business? Did you start in Greenville, or where were you?
No, actually, I started in Wilmington, North Carolina, at Bob King GMC. It was Bob King Auto Mall at the time. Mm-hmm. I had sold copiers before, and I sold them some copiers, and he asked me, did I want to try it? And I was younger. Mm-hmm. I had we didn't have kids yet, and my wife said, heck, it doesn't matter. You think you got a better opportunity to make money, go and give it a try.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I'll give it a try. He said, you got 6 months. If you like it, great. If you don't, we'll see. We'll see where it goes from there. I'll help you get another job. Yeah. That was over 30 years ago.
Wow.
So yes.
Sounds like it worked out okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, there's been good times. There's been tough times, but yeah. I love it. Honestly, I've tried. I dabbled outside of the automobile industry for a very short period of time. It just, I don't know. It's just
it gets just hooks in you, don't it?
It is. It's very addictive.
Yeah.
And I have an addictive personality, like most of us do. We have that. We love the thrill of somebody saying yes.
Yeah.
And putting somebody.
You can win a bunch of times in a day. You can lose a lot too. You have to be able to deal with the losses. I think that's what makes it. I don't know, maybe that extra sense of accomplishment is when you finally get that yes. You got to fight for it.
Yes.
Sometimes.
Yes. And, at this point in my career, it's kind of crazy because I have been in other roles other than sales for so long. Mm-hmm. I didn't forget, but I almost forgot. About what it felt like to do that. And I'm going to tell you, the way it is nowadays, we have so much competition out there.
No doubt.
And there's so much information that the customers know. I remember back I hate to keep saying this, but back when I first started, everybody said, well, the customer's going to know more than you know. Well, you know what? They do now.
Yeah.
It's very rare that a customer doesn't know as much or more than you do now. At least in my experience.
They can hone their research on a specific vehicle. They have this, sort of magnifying glass on what they want. You get, as a salesperson, or even as a sales manager, you learn these little things. You pick up things as you go about a general broad scope of things. But now, they know what they want. They've been researching it, and probably have been researching it for like the last 6 months to a year. So they've become an expert.
It's funny that you say that. Back in the day, they used to tell us, well, customers spend up to 48 hours, preparing to come out and look at a car. 48 hours is nothing now.
No doubt.
I mean, they do months and months and months of research, and there's just so much information that they can get a hold of, and that is available to them, which I think is great.
Yeah, it's a great consumer.
It really is great. Because then it's all about numbers.
It's an experience too.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, let's face it. Anybody can sell somebody a car if they have the cheapest price.
Yeah.
It's that guy that has all the information and he's drilling you about this and that and the third, and they say yes. It still gives me a thrill. It really does.
Yeah.
It still gives me a thrill.
Yeah, no, it's I think probably what has kept me in it too, and we meet so many different people, and it's a really fun business. I think there's always things like I was going to start the show with talking about news and that sort of thing, but a lot of consumers have kind of like they have it in their face all the time. They see the stuff. They see that there's recalls out there. As soon as something happens big, this momentous, it's no longer like, hey, did you hear about this? Or like, yeah, like that's been out for 5-6 days, where like a big recall that would have been a safety issue, might take a month or two before it finally hits the customer's ears. So I feel like sometimes because I'm almost like 5 days behind because I post on Friday. I'll come out with some news and it'd be like, man, that recall's already been fixed. The parts came in and it's done. It's like, okay, all right, but I think that's just the world we live in. Everybody's got their computer in their hand. They've got a third base coach that they can not only text or call, but they can FaceTime them now. They can show them the car without them even being there. So technology, of course, has grown a lot. I don't want to assume anything as far as how the technology from when you were a manager to now has changed. When was the last time you were managing a store?
It's been since I came to Greenville. I've been selling cars. I've been here in Greenville for 2 years now.
Uh-huh.
It has changed. I think it is, from that perspective, the salespeople are the front line. Me and you, the guys that are, first of all, let me say this.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's me, you, George, Brian, Mike Castelli, we're all salespeople.
Yeah.
I mean, when it all comes down to it,
Right.
we're all salespeople.
Mm-hmm.
We hone our craft into the things that we do more and more every day.
Mm-hmm.
But, Mike Castelli can do the same thing that we do out here on the ground because you know what? He did it
Yeah.
years ago.
Right.
Some of us in the car business has been here for a while. We can step into that role and do it in a way to get by because we've been around it for so long.
Right.
I think you don't give yourself enough credit because you are so intelligent and you have so much information, and I thank you very much because you save me most of the time. But you give so much information to so many people. I don't really think you realize how much in depth your knowledge goes, and I congratulate you for that.
Well, I look at it as a tool, and I was thinking to myself when you were talking about how all the managers could come right back onto the floor, that's just my tool. That's the tool I've sharpened the most, I guess, is like information technology, that sort of thing. However, you've got your own things that you're really good at because I sit in front of you. You know what I mean? Like I hear some of the things that you do, and everybody's got a different style. And I noticed that between all, especially because I've worked with Brian and Tony and Mike, and I mean, I've worked with you now, what has it been, a year and a half?
Yeah.
Almost 2 years. So, there's certain things you pick up and you realize about how a person's style is at dealing with people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in sales, you got to have, at least at some point, if you're going to be successful, some type of control. You have to have control, or else it'll just go off the rails, and suddenly you might sell a few per month, but the customer ultimately, I'm not going to say that they're always like it's a win-lose situation, but the dealership usually loses when somebody can't maintain that control. But you have a really good sense of that. For me, sitting at where I sit, usually when you get your hooks in somebody and they're in front of you and this is the car they like, they're buying the car. you know, and you don't let them go, and you don't give up easy. Those are the things that I notice, and I appreciate that. I learned from you too. Don't think that you just learned it from me.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I was taught way back when, once you get a customer, every time you shake somebody's hand, it's $200 or $300. And I hate to break this business down monetarily on every aspect, but it's why we're here.
Yeah.
Yes, we're here to help individuals. Yes, we're here to help people get what they want to have. But the end goal, everybody's here to help their family, or or their loved ones, and to do what we want to do. Sales is a selfish business. We all, and I don't mean that as bluntly as it came out.
It's true, man. I mean, look, we get so I feel like I'm married to this business sometimes. You have to be. And it's if you don't completely commit to it, you're not going to be successful. But then, because you're so committed to it, you have to be successful. You can't be so committed and be failing left and right. You have to learn to get better, or else you're going to be a moping, sad salesperson, and that's like a perpetual thing.
It's hard to get out of that zone once you get there.
Yeah.
Zig Ziglar said, "We get what we want to get by helping people get what they want to get."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's really breaks it down to the nuts and bolts of what we do.
Yeah. No, that's a great quote. He is somebody that I gained or whatever you call it. I joined into his alpha dog on Facebook, and I don't watch it as closely because I don't know why, but I've kind of stepped back from Facebook. I don't know. I get on the TikTok and I'll watch other people's videos, but the old school salespeople. I hate to put it that way, but he's old school. Zig Ziglar's, he gets on there and he'll do his little podcast, and the information is timeless. You know what I mean? Like the stuff he talks about, it has no timestamp on it. You don't have to go back to the 80s. You don't have to be, the idea of the old salesperson trying to pull one over on a customer, like some of the movie, sort of caricatures that we get as a stigma sometimes. I think the face of sales has changed a lot because people put it all out there. There's so much out there. Social media has put some salespeople right in the spotlight, where what would be a tactic, a sales tactic, is no longer hidden to the world. It's no longer a mystery. The things we deal with are, all the salespeople have opened up and aired it out, all their dirty laundry sometimes. I
had the first owner that I worked for, Bob King. Great man in Wilmington. He told me, because my office happened to be in the same area where his was, and he said, "You were just so bluntly honest." I said, "Mr. King, the way I feel about it, if I sell somebody a car, and if we're out to dinner with my wife and they're out there with their family, and I run across somebody, I don't want to have to hide because I didn't tell them the truth.
Right.
I want to be able to go over and say, 'Hey, how you doing? Let me buy you a drink. Let's have an appetizer together. Let's hang out.'" And in that way, in my mind, the next time they're thinking about a car, they're going to think about me, hopefully.
Yeah.
Because I was honest, and I did tell them, "Well, you don't really need that, but this is what you really need."
Right.
And now, it's crazy. The customers are so knowledgeable. Yeah. It's almost, they have too much in it, too much information.
You pull one of those old school tactics where you're trying to pull the cover over their eyes, and it's done. And you also will get blasted on social media if you're not careful, and they'll tell all their friends. Word of mouth is still the best and worst advertising a salesperson can have. And I think that's where you see people that can stay at a dealership for a long time, and those that hop around. The ones that hop around are usually still got those bad habits, and the people that stick around are usually the honest, good ones that are just trying to make a living, not trying to pull one over on somebody. They're just trying to make an honest living. And
It's the difference between having a career or a job.
yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
And this is who I am.
Right.
This is who I've been for a long, long time. And it actually took me a while to embrace that, because there was always that persona of the white shoes and the flamboyant clothes and trying, like you said, pull the wool over their eyes.
Yeah.
And the first thing you said, when you go to a high school reunion or a gathering where you meet somebody, what are you doing now? I'm selling cars. Oh no, that's it. Well, it's not that way anymore.
Right. Yeah.
We're beginning to earn the respect that I think we deserve for a long time.
I
People,
mean, we're professionals.
we are.
Yeah, it's not, it's not something I embraced when I first started. I kind of just looked at it as I'm a salesman. I wasn't proud about it, I guess. Now I'm like, I've gained that sense of pride, over being in it a long time, and it's because I changed my perspective on what I was doing, as opposed to just coming in day in, day out. Like when I first started in sales, man, I was kind of a shy guy. I would go out and play music and stuff like that, and I would interact with people, but I would do it in just a hey, how you doing type of thing. There was no, I didn't, was not a conversationalist. It took a lot of work for me to feel like this was a career worth keeping, and it took that first year or two, and it was tough for me because that was something I was not good at. I didn't feel like I could be myself. You know what I mean? It was. I think that's something that some salespeople probably deal with even still today, especially when they're first starting, is they feel like maybe it's an unworthiness thing. But I think anybody has something special to share with the world and something special to share with each and every customer about who they are and get that person to fall in love with them and the car too. But ultimately, that's the sales world, is we got to sell ourselves. Nobody's going to buy a car, I don't think, from somebody they don't like. It's just not going to happen.
That's what we call blocking and tackling.
Yeah.
That's the nuts and bolts of this business.
Mm-hmm.
They might, but it's not going to be a good experience, and they won't ever again.
Yeah.
I had managers through the years. My first GSM, rarely interacted with the customer. He was always the man behind the glass. Mm-hmm. But when he did, he came out with the, hey, how you doing? They put on a persona.
Yeah.
Then I had this other guy, Robert Campbell, which I love to death, and he taught me so much. And he was just an everyday guy. Mm-hmm. My general sales managers were always tie straight, creases everywhere, looked perfect. Robert was disheveled and his hair was all over the place, but he got in there and got right into the middle of it with us. Mm-hmm. And basically took over what we were doing. And I don't know. I feel like I'm when I was at a sales manager a couple of years ago, and for all those years, I just said, look, man, I'm the salesperson just like everybody else here. Yeah. I don't do it. The only thing is I have to answer to that guy over there, and I know what he's thinking most of the time. Mm-hmm. So I'm just a salesperson like he is. Yeah. Actually, he probably has more information than I do. Mm-hmm. But anyway.
Yeah. That's kind of a perspective I appreciate, though, is that not that talking to the managers, they're not going to share with us how it is being a manager, but they're still a manager. You were a manager, and now you're back in the sales role, which I know is unusual in this business. I don't see it happen a lot, but it's like you've embraced it, and you are what I would consider the salesperson that knows what's going on behind the curtain and can have that sort of inner perspective that, especially somebody new, but even somebody like me that I've never worked the desk. I don't plan on working the desk. It's not really what I would like to do. And I'm not saying no, never, ever, but for now I enjoy the role I'm in. But you've seen different sides of it, and kind of, I think it helps me listening to you, the things that are going on in a deal. You have a lot of perspective to share with customers to help their process easier, make it become easier. And I don't know if you've got anything that you would like to share about how that role has changed for you and how it's helped you in your sales role.
Sometimes that can be a hindrance. Sometimes I'll tell Tony, Tony does a great job on the desk. He has so much going on back there behind it. We don't understand what he's actually doing all the time, and we get stuck in our own world that we're ready to do this, and Tony's got 17 other things that he's doing.
Right. Yeah.
And yet he still, most of the time, keeps it all together. But I find myself doing what you're saying and knowing what's coming, and sometimes it hurts.
Really?
Yeah. Sometimes it hurts. I used to tell people, I'm a rookie, please treat me like a rookie.
Yeah.
Don't treat me, I don't want to know, because there was times, when I was on the sales floor or whatever, even being a manager, I had cost sheets and all this other stuff, and I would find myself relying on that. And it hindering me doing the job that I was supposed to be doing. And I would go into the store and I'd take all my stuff and I'd put it on my boss's desk and say, that's it. I don't want to know. You just give me a number and I'll go do what I need to do. I don't want to know what we're sitting on, what we're doing, what's next.
Right.
I want to know what I have to have right now to get us to the next step. And that's where I find I do better. I don't know.
I get that. Look, it's kind of weird, because when we get new salespeople, it almost kind of works like clockwork, where because they don't know, they're super successful. They go in and they're just ignorant about the whole situation, and they just go in and they're like, well, here it is. You want it?
They make a friend.
Right, yeah.
And, many times not knowing is the best way.
I don't like to know either. Like when I go to the desk, I really don't want to know what kind of gross I'm sitting on. I'd rather just pretend like every single deal is we're at our bottom line and let's just move on. And I know that's not the case. You have to be flexible. With our business, at least this dealership, we're not necessarily a one price store, but we've gotten really close to it because the market being as competitive as it is. The used cars that Ed is buying, he has to buy, and we have to have the inventory. Like we're pricing them so close to retail to what we bought them for, just to get a unit to sell and to have the opportunity for financing. I've almost had to kind of change my because I want to push a sheet forward and say, hey, what will you do? Sometimes what they can do is what's on the sheet. We don't have anywhere to go, and we might make $1,000, and $1,000 in this business is pretty much nothing, I mean, it's not nothing, but if you have $1,000 to play with and somebody wants to take $3,000 off, why are we going to sell at a loss? And sometimes it makes sense to because we've had it for a long time or something. But it's not a one price store, but man, it sure feels like it sometimes if we get so close to what we got in it.
We have to be.
Yeah.
That's the way the business is going. Because, and I tell my customers this all the time, or potential customers, look, folks, you came here because you saw something you liked on the internet, correct? Right. I have people, like right now, I have somebody in New Jersey that I'm talking about, a Wagoneer that I have.
Yeah.
And he's, and he's supposed to because his job to get the best deal for his family. But, he wants this and that and the other thing off of the price of the car. So hold on a second.
Yeah.
You are 500 miles away
Right.
from me.
Yeah.
I'm not even supposed to talk to you. And you called me because I have a particular vehicle that you're interested in.
Yeah.
Why did you do that? Well, because it's priced well. Exactly.
Right.
So what justifies me taking another $3,000 off?
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I can't help you, but I tell people this all the time, and I know you've heard me. I have hundreds, not thousands, to help you with.
No. Yeah, and that's kind of where we've gotten with it. And I'd love to say that most people understand that, but it's still ingrained in a lot of people's minds that we're just knocking them over the head with every single deal or something, you know? Like we're just making a killing on these deals.
I have seen this business where customers want to have everything up front. They want all the pricing up front and all that. And I worked at a store that we never did that. But then one day the management decided, okay, and we plastered the windows with all the prices of every pre-owned car and every new car.
Oh, wow.
Okay, and the customers came in and said, okay, I want a $3,000. Didn't whoa. You told us that you wanted to. It was when Saturn first came out. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
because Saturn was, and they did great things for this business. They really did. Because believe it or not, back then there were some things that were going on that shouldn't have been, and they made us change the way we did business, and we embraced it.
Okay.
And at first, being a salesperson, it's something new, scared me.
Yeah.
And I said, no, you know what? It's better for the customer and it's better for me. I don't have to negotiate.
Right.
But when we did it, those very same people say, oh, we love the way this and that. We're tired of. They want to come in and they want to negotiate because they don't feel like they got a good deal.
Yeah.
And I ask this question all the time, and it's kind of facetious, but it has some merit. When you go to Walmart to grocery shop, and you go to Fresh Market or wherever to go buy your food, do you negotiate with the butcher about the $12.99 a pound that steak is, or $25 a pound that you're buying for that prime rib?
Right.
Well, no. Okay, so why are you doing that to me?
Yeah. Now, if I have a relationship with the butcher at the local market, rather than,
Sure.
the corporate store, you go to a corporate store, you kind of. But I'm being obviously a little bit of a devil's advocate on that side because I deal shop. I don't buy something unless it's on sale.
I'm the same way. I do the same
But they don't
thing.
change the sale at the cash register.
No, sir.
It is what it is. The
We
price is on
we
there.
might get that prime piece of meat that he's been hiding and say, I know Bobby was going to come in because him and his wife always
Right.
cook out on this night or
Yeah.
something. But
Yeah.
we're still paying the same dollars that everybody else is.
Right. Yeah.
But this business has been so much fun to me. You look back, and I look back and I see everything that I've done and the people that I've met and the places that I've been. I see myself as very fortunate to have worked in a lot of different environments, and I've learned so much from those different environments. And you, on the other hand, I'm jealous because you've been here for how long now?
I started here in 2014, and I did work one other store before this, but I've spent pretty much my entire career here.
Okay, so that's, let's say, a better part of 12 years. Gosh, you sit there at that desk, and I know you work to get new customers, but you sit there at that desk, and you can, and I've been here long enough because I can see it, okay, that so-and-so is going to come in on the 15th of May and come see Bobby because it's time for him to get another truck. Or so-and-so is going to come see Bobby because he's got to, help him out with his navigation or his whatever the case may be because he forgot the settings that Bobby did and his battery went dead, whatever. But I see that and I'm so jealous because you have you've put that in motion by the way you treat customers and the way you carry yourself and the things that you do that sometimes I don't think you realize. I can tell you, I don't sell a whole lot of cars anymore, but I can tell you the ones that I do sell, it's very rare that you don't help me with something. And so I want you to know from the bottom of my heart, and I know there's guys out there that we work with every day, that if they have a question, they go to Bobby because he knows. And we thank you for that.
It's it's one of those things that I think I was taught at a young age to serve, and I think that it's just a part of being a service to the dealership, and it usually ends up helping me too. I mean, it comes back. It's not like one of those things where it's completely selfish. When I do things, I gain a sense of accomplishment sometimes. And there is a sense of pride. I like to know what I'm talking about. It sucks when I'm wrong, but
Rare.
But I try to make sure that I am right, so that I'm giving people the right information, so that they can be successful. And if I see somebody else being successful, when I'm having trouble, somebody's there to help me. And that's kind of how I look at it. Is it ends up being kind of like karma. You know what I mean? I'm a Christian man, so I'm not like a Buddhist. But you do unto a neighbor as you'd like to be done to you, and I feel like that's part of what inspires me to do that. But I appreciate you saying that, and it's sometimes it's a blessing and a curse. But
one of my greatest accomplishments in the car business is to see somebody that when I met them or they met me, that they were like that deer, that they showed they can't barely walk, when they come out of the when they're born, and then you see their manager. Or their top salesperson, and have been for years or for a long time. That gives me a sense of pride that money can't buy. And I don't know, and I know you've noticed it, but being here, I've helped. Not because I want anything out of it, because I don't want anything. You know what? Because somebody did it for me.
Right.
I had a salesperson, Ron Wagner, never forget. He was an old crotchety guy, just like I am, and he was the best I've ever seen. And I asked him, I said, "Can you help me?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "But you're going to listen to every word that I say, and you're going to do everything that I tell you to do." He said, "If you're willing to do that, I'll help you." Yeah. And guess what? He did. And he's the big reason why I'm here today. And when I do that and I help somebody that wants it and appreciates it, it's better to me than selling 3 cars in a day. It really is. And that feeling to me is, I like it. Yeah. I enjoy it.
Watching growth, is like you said, seeing the fawn turn into. By the time you look back around and the buck, and it's out there leading the way to the other, little fawns.
Exactly, it's crazy.
It's like a full cycle, man, and I want to just tell you thank you again, man, for coming on. I think we're gonna have to probably wrap it up because I don't know, we don't want to miss George's meeting.
No, not gonna happen.
Got to log into all our stuff and
God
make sure.
I love George to death.
Yeah,
and believe it or not, is sometimes as cantankerous as he can be. Sometimes I learn an awful lot from him too.
Yeah, he is truly one of the most helpful people, and it may sometimes seem to some of these new sales guys that he's just complaining or something, like it's like he likes to complain or something, but he's really truly trying to help the people sell one more car, and I love George for that too. He has a way about him that I think really like it can dig, because people know he's right. And they don't want to admit, oh my gosh,
there you go.
He's right. I need to get to work.
You're exactly right.
He
keeps us all in check.
He does. He's a great guy, and I'm glad I had him on here. So glad you came on, man. I appreciate
you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I've been looking forward to this.
We're gonna continue on. This week. I'm going to take a vacation, which I know rare for me to stop this for longer than a week, but I've already done it once. I feel like I'm kind of breaking the trend here, but I'm going to take a week off. I'm going to invigorate my mind, re-energize, and I'm going to try to start doing stuff a little bit different with the podcast. I think this setup works for now, but I've got to start looking at how we can grow. And you've helped me today with kind of filling in a spot where we're sort of reorganizing, and things are going to change in the car business, but also with this podcast. So keep an eye out. You guys keep watching. We're going to continue to grow, and once again, appreciate y'all watching. Y'all have a great week.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Bye. Thank you, Bobby. I appreciate that. That's all.